All right, interference by outside governments not just affecting U.S. elections. As we mentioned, the French government cybersecurity agency right now working around the clock to trace the hackers who attacked centrist candidate Emmanuel Macron's campaign just hours before Election Day. Now, Macron won, but the development was eerily similar to the email hacking last summer of the DNC and a key Hillary Clinton aide. We're back now with Warren Buffett of Berkshire Hathaway and board member Bill Gates. But also, Bill, you're the man widely credited with creating the tools that eventually, and I'm not blaming you, I'm just saying those tools have now been brought where foreign governments, our government, even as Trump said, the so-called 400-pound guy sitting on his bed, can hurt businesses, elections, politicians. What can we do to tame this, if anything?
Well, just like electricity is a critical part of our infrastructure, the internet is equally important. You know, hospitals and all sorts of critical things depend on it. And so the idea of how do you protect things, how do you isolate information, that requires huge diligence now. And
like on the government level, do you think the government should help private industry and business?
Well, the government's first job is to protect itself, and there's a lot of expertise on both sides where if they're talking to each other, they can both learn a lot. The software is created in the private sector, a lot of deep security expertise there, and then the government knows the threat model. So cyber is right up there with biological or nuclear is something that you really want the best minds thinking through what your defense system looks like, how you can detect things early on.
Can it be tamed, Bill?
In the sense that you completely get rid of the risk, no.
Warren, have any of your businesses under the Berkshire umbrella ever been hacked?
Yeah. And in conjunction with the annual meeting, we have a manager's session on 3 or 4 subjects, and hacking and cyber is pretty much the best attended. I mean, people really want to know what's going on there.
How much do you spend per year protecting?
I have no idea because it's 60 or 70 companies.
Would you ever buy a cybersecurity company or invest? I mean, everybody's going to need this service.
Yeah, I wouldn't bring much to the party. I mean, I'd rather have Bill start one, and then I'll hire him.
What do you think is the biggest risk, if not hacking, to the stock market? I mean, some might argue that an overvalued stock market right now is a big risk.
Well, a public that gets overexcited about stocks at some point becomes the biggest risk to a stock market.
Do you see that now?
I don't think so. But you never know when it's going to happen. You know it will happen periodically. Except it isn't periodically exactly. It's erratically, I guess, a better word. But it will happen. It will happen.
And when it does, what will you be doing that day?
Buying. I mean, it depends how far it goes and all that. But I like to buy things on sale. You know, it goes to stocks and actually, I probably buy everything on sale on the shows.
Bill, what do you think is a big risk? In North Korea, people talk about that.
Well, that's a very improbable risk, but any type of war, particularly if nuclear weapons are involved, is a risk. A pandemic, whether it's naturally caused or intentionally caused, is one that I've been sort of encouraging people to think about more, put more resource on. Warren's always been great about highlighting the nuclear issue and backing some people who've been raising that as a strong issue. Those things are high impact, low risk. Right now, the U.S. economy is doing well. Innovation in the U.S. is doing well. I think this is a period where the U.S. formula looks great.
Last time we were here, we asked you what you thought was the most impressive unicorn. You said Airbnb. Does that still hold this year?
Well, I think they continue to do a really good job. I think that'll be a strong franchise. They had to figure out how they relate to the regulators in all these different cities, but working their way through that in a smart way. No,
excuse me.
Yeah, it's a great company.
1,100 people used it at the Berkshire meeting, and I'll bet that number 3 years ago probably wasn't 50.
Wow.
No, 11. And of course, if they have a good experience, they come back to the same place. They like the people that they stay with, and the people like them.